Well, you didn't have to take it that far, but you did. Black Christmas stars Imogen Poots, Elise Shannon, and is directed by Sophia Takal. What is up, guys? The Black Christmas remake is finally here. It's funny too, because this movie kind of creeped up on us. They dropped the trailer kind of late in the game, and then we were like, oh wow, we're actually getting a new Black Christmas movie this year. And let me just preface this by saying the original Black Christmas is one of my all-time favorite films. What Bob Clark was able to achieve in terms of scares and in terms of just creating one of the most iconic and creepiest characters ever in Billy is almost unmatched. It really is. So any remake or inevitable sequel that they would ever make to this property, which they'll probably never make a sequel, I'm there, just because I love the original property that much. And I had a strong feeling that this movie was going to be bad, but you know what? I went into it with an open mind. Matter of fact, I just got out of it. And I will say, it's not good. Not good at all. After seeing that trailer, I had a lot of worries going into this movie. And before we dig deep into what I did not like about this movie, let's give it a quick plot synopsis. This really is like a sorority horror movie, which the original is pretty much a sorority horror movie, so I'm gonna give it that. But our main character, Riley, played by Imogen Poots, a few years ago, she was the victim of a heinous crime, rape. But in the present day, there's this series of killings by this stalker going around, and much like the original, these sorority girls are being picked off. Sounds simple enough, right? We got big problems with this movie, though. Very big problems. Before I dive into the problems, though, I will touch on a couple of things I did like about the movie. And really, it's the cinematography and the score. That's about it. The cinematography, much like the original film, has a very naturalistic yet foreboding feel to it. There is this one segment in the final act that I was sitting up in my seat saying, okay, this is actually some pretty good stuff here. Very well directed scene. But the lighting definitely has that Christmas feel, but it doesn't feel too forced. It works very well, especially for a horror movie. One thing I love about the original and really the 2006 remake is the cinematography. The 2006 remake really amplifies it, makes it feel almost hyper realistic, whereas this one feels a little bit more organic, a little bit more realistic. But then it's also accented by the score. There's a few musical cues throughout this movie that I did see promise, and that's the big thing with this movie. There was potential, there was promise there, but we are constantly let down by, I'm going to go ahead and tell you the elephant in the room. This movie is pretty much an agenda-based type of film, and that's the first thing we're going to talk about. Now, if you want to make the subject of rape and women's rights a part of your horror movie, I honestly don't have a problem with that. As a matter of fact, it is a real issue, especially on college campuses. According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, 1 in 5 women are raped, and 25% of women on college campuses are raped. So, I'm not going to go into this movie saying this is unrealistic. Absolutely not. It is a real problem. I have a daughter that graduated college, and let me just tell you, there are many nights when I worried about my daughter because it is a scary environment. You know, these college frat boys, they get drunk, they take advantage of these women, and that is something that is touched on in this movie. So I'm not going to go into this review bashing women that are victims of rape. Absolutely not. But my big problem was the handling of the source material. It felt very one-dimensional. And how they did that was with the characters. Every time there is an exchange between women and men in this movie, they don't really dig deep. You know, it's very superficial. And the men in this movie, every single one of them is either completely forgettable or a complete douchebag. You have this frat boy cult that plays a major role in this movie. And because they decided to bring forth these supernatural elements to the story, it completely sucks the life out of the real agenda at hand. And this is a slasher movie. Do you want to spend that much time with an agenda beating your audience over the head with it? No, you don't. You want to do it with nuance. And the way you do that is through the characters. A well-written character will get their message across with probably just a few lines of dialogue, you know, a few key scenes. But I shit you not, 95% of this movie is one-dimensional characters that are turned up to 10 the whole way, and that is not the way normal people are. And also, this is a strong woman type of movie. You know, you have that final act where the women, they rise up and they face the danger. This has been done a million times before, but if you don't build up those characters before they face the danger, then what's the point? Okay, next thing I want to talk about is Black Christmas, the original compared to this movie. If you want to do a remake to the original movie, change it up. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But you want to take the best things about the original movie and you want to accent them, you want to use them in some way in the remake, and then write your story around that. This movie takes the most iconic and most underrated killer in horror history, Billy, and doesn't use him whatsoever. He is not a character in this movie at all. And he is replaced with the most generic, the most "are you kidding me" type of villain that I could ever possibly imagine. Bob Clark was a master of just creating scares, creating tension, and really making Billy this mystery, never even showing him. All the scares in this movie, they're either cutaways or they are PG-13 jump scares. There are a couple moments of potential, like I said, but for the most part, everything else is just so forgettable. Also, there is this security guard in the movie. I will cut them some slack on this because there are security guards that are like this. If you take like the Brandon Tina story from the movie Boys Don't Cry, you know, the police officers in that movie, they completely disregarded the victim, and that is what happens in this movie. But they didn't do anything to make that character memorable. And if you go back to the original, John Saxon was the detective in that movie, and John Saxon is like one of the greatest character actors ever created. This guy who played the security guard was pretty much forgettable. And I will definitely give the main cast some credit. They gave it their all, but the problem with the movie is really in the script. You know, these felt like real characters. They didn't feel like Hollywood pinups. So that's a plus for me. But they didn't have that backbone. There was really no gray area to the movie at all. It was just all black and white. And at the end of the day, it just wasn't entertaining. It's a shame that a Black Christmas movie is a movie that I'll probably never watch again. So I'm giving this like a damn low 2 hours lost. I almost gave it a looped in hell. It's really bad. But yeah, just skip this one, guys. I can't believe that we, yet again, wasted another Black Christmas property. I can have some fun with the 2006 remake. I think that movie is better than this movie, and that movie has its own major problems, for sure. But at least I can be entertained by that one. This one right here, I'm beaten over the head with an agenda, which is a legit, viable agenda that I am passionate about, but they do it the wrong way. So anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on the Black Christmas remake? Looking forward to hearing them. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free for All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.